Hi, I'm Carla Schaefer, Auntie's Beads designer, and I will be demonstrating the St. Petersburg stitch, and we will be making a necklace. I'm going to go over the list of tools and supplies needed, and all supplies are available on auntiesbeads.com website. What we'll need for this project is an 11/0 seed bead, and we will need about 20 grams. We will need 101 3mm fire polish, check glass, or round beads, a 2-stranded clasp, wire guardians or French wire and bullion. We need Fireline and a number 12 needle. Okay, the first thing we need to do is cut 2 yards of the Fireline, and actually I decided after I've done this a couple of times to cut a little more than 2 yards. So 2 yards of Fireline, and then we're going to use a stop bead, and I'm using this Delica bead because I wanted it to be something different from the seed beads that I'm using. So just thread a stop bead in the center of that 2 yards of Fireline, and then thread your needle. Obviously you've threaded your needle, and then we're going to start picking up our beads. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up 4 of the seed beads, and then 1 of the fire polish, and 2 seed beads. And then we're going to bring these down to the stop bead. Okay, now that we've got our beads strung and laid down onto the stop bead here, the first thing we are going to do is we are going to run our needle through the last 4 seed beads strung, would be these 2 and these 2, and skipping this 3mm bead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my needle through these 2, I'm going to skip the 3mm, and I'm going to run it back up through these 2. Now I did get away from the stop bead, but all we got to do is just readjust the stop bead and bring everything back down. So all I'm going to do is just going to push them. So now you can see what I've done here. We've got the 3mm bead on the end or the bottom, and 4 and 2 on either side of it. And then we'll start our next stitch. Okay, the next thing to do is we're going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, drop them down, and then I'm going to sew through these 2 11/0s on the end. And then I'm going to bring my needle back over to those 2 that we just strung, till you have something that looks like this. So we have 4 on each side of this check glass round. And what this is the basis for the rest of the necklace. We are now going to build off of this. This is our center bead, and we will be stringing 50 of these 4mm rounds here on out for one side of the necklace. So I'm going to, when I start the next stitch, that will be the beginning of the repetition for the rest of the side. Okay, so what we do now is we're going to pick up 2 11/0s, and you can bring them down to the work. 2 11/0s, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my needle up through the 2 11/0s just below that. And then I'm going to pick up 1 11/0, and I'm going to bring it down through the next 3 11/0s below that. And then this puts our thread in a position that we're for when we pick up the 3mm round. So we've picked up 1, gone through the 3. Now I'm going to pick up a 3mm round, and I'm going to bring it up through these 2 11/0s on the side. Okay, now we're going to pick up 4 11/0 seed beads, bring them down to the work, run your needle back through the first 2, or up from the bottom, that we strung on. We form the little flap, pick up 1 11/0, bring it through 3 seed beads, pull it tight, Pick up your 3mm round, bring it up from the bottom through the 2. It also helps to pick up the 3mm. Let's try that again. Pick up your 3mm round, run it up through the bottom 2. And again, we're ready again for the next 4 11/0 seed beads. You want to do this until you have 50, not counting this bottom bead, but 50 of these 3mm rounds. So if you are counting your bottom, it's going to be 51 for one side. You just repeat this process. Again, bring it up through bottom 2. You form your little flap, pick up 1 11/0, and down through 3, pick up your 3mm, and run it through those 2. Okay, now I have just completed my 50 3mm rounds, and this is my end of my upper side 1. And so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, drop them down, and a stop bead, and this will be the end of this row. And then we'll start the second side upper, or the second upper. So all I'm going to do is thread it on my 2 11/0s, then a stop bead, and I'm just going to run my thread through here, my needle through here. And all this does is just keep those 2 11/0s on, and we'll be ready to start the other end. Okay, now we're back at the beginning where we started. I simply removed the stop bead. This was that center bead the very first bead that we put on. So what we're going to do now is do another 50 beads up from this edge. We don't count this bead, so we're going to do an additional 50 beads. So all we need to do to start this is to pick up 2 11/0s, and again we're going to go up through the last two beads that we had strung on. So what I'm going to do is run my needle up through these 2 beads, and again we're forming that little flap. So we're going to pick up 1 11/0, and we're going to run it down through these 3. Pick up your 3mm round, run it up through those 2 beads in the flap, and again, just starting off like we did the other side, 4 11/0s, and go back through the last 2 strung, or the first 2 strung. Skipped one. Again, we formed that little flap, pick up 1 11/0, go back down 3, and you again continue this to the end, and end like you did the first row with the 2 11/0s and a stop bead. And then we'll be ready to do our lower sides. And then you simply continue the process.